Hello once again, folks. You're joining us for another exciting episode. This is episode 15 of Customizing the Clone Wars. I am your host, as always, Pete Obi-Wan, Customizer, and along with me, my co-host, Darth Daddy. How are you doing tonight, sir?
I'm doing well. Excited to be here for our recap episode for season 1.
Yeah, can you believe it? Episode 15. Tonight is a recap show, folks. So we're just going to have some fun. We're going to kind of just have a conversation about Clone Wars and how awesome it is. And what a great show, right?
Oh yeah, I enjoyed it. It's been nice too to go back and rewatch everything and refamiliarize myself with the show. It's funny doing it this way. I feel like I got a more intimate viewing because I was like, all right, what characters are in here? What customs can I make from this? So I noticed what was going on in the backgrounds more, and where before whenever I watched for the story. This time around, I was watching the show in a different way. I was looking for Easter eggs. I was looking, for seeing what do I have that could fit this. And it also really pushed me to make things that I've been wanting to make for a long time, like the WAG 2 and the Cham Syndulla, things that, probably would have ended up on the back burner forever if we hadn't done this show.
Yeah, for sure. Well, folks, if you have not seen our show yet, we basically are revisiting, celebrating, enjoying the Clone Wars animated series. It aired from 2008 to about 2013 with 5 seasons, and then I guess the Lost Missions were considered a 6th, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was like half season. There was a half season only on Netflix, or they did have it later on disc.
Yeah, it actually came out. I was glad I got that. That is the one that I've seen the least, season 6, The Lost Missions. I watched it. I took a whole day off to watch the whole thing when it came out on Netflix. But ever since I got the video, I have not seen it as much. But what we did in this season, we are talking about basically the theatrical release, and we were also talking about the season 1 as a whole. We did sometimes we did arcs, right, and other times we just did single episodes. And what we do on our show is we talk about customizing. We talked about the unsung heroes, the more unique characters, right? The people that we would prefer to see made.
Like the villain of the week. That these are really cool villains, but it's nice to have them in action figure form too.
Right. Exactly. I don't know about you, but I feel like Clone Wars is just an untouched area of awesomeness when it comes to making custom action figures, don't you think?
Oh yeah, there's just so many new characters and new aliens that we never came across, and you can go forever and ever and ever. It's a whole other. It's almost like a whole Star Wars galaxy in itself.
Yeah, I agree. I'm amazed by that shelf behind you. Just looking at that, that's just made up of good guys, right? You told me that before the show started.
Yeah, everybody on there. I couldn't fit good and bad on there, so I had to do just the good guys on this one, and then all the way up there on the top, you'll have Zero and this little Death Watch and Jabba and a bunch of others. But
yeah, and if you've seen our show before, what we do is we just basically talk about our customs, and tonight is no different. We're going to definitely talk about customs, but we're going to definitely show less, and we're going to of course have less screen caps because we're not actually talking about the episodes tonight. But we want to talk about the whole season as a whole. And let's just get started with the theatrical release came out, and That was fun. That was a pretty good movie. I definitely only saw it once in the theater.
Yeah, me too. I
Didn't
took
really
you.
have the yeah, it didn't have the perception that it was supposed to have, right?
It was funny. Like when I found out about it, it really caught me off guard because I was like, "What? There's a new Star Wars movie coming out?" And then I saw it was animated, and but I kind of found out at the last minute. I wasn't on top of things at the time, even though I think by that point, Elias had probably been collected for a good solid year, but it was more just like going into stores and picking up like new additions to his collection. I wasn't on all the like Star Wars fan sites at that time. Um, I didn't really have exposure to like the super fan community at that point. So it was really cool to like go and see the Clone Wars movie. And I remember liking the story, but not being sure how I felt about how the characters appeared, as far as like the design of the characters and stuff.
Yeah.
Um, especially with Obi-Wan, like Anakin didn't phase me all that much, but Obi-Wan Kenobi, like re-envisioning him that way was difficult for me to like wrap my head around initially. And of course, by the end of season one, it melted away, and there was no issues at all. But um, like first impressions, it was a little jarring.
Yeah. I liked it for the most part. I was excited for it simply because I appreciated the idea that George was going to make a show about Star Wars. It was going to be on every single week, and what that did is it expanded the universe dramatically. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I really enjoyed that aspect of it, and it was the end of an era also because we had the prequels and we weren't sure what was going to happen after the prequels, and we were kind of missing the Clone Wars, don't you think? After episode 2, you're just like, it started and then it ended. You're like, well, what the heck, right?
Yeah, you definitely felt like you wanted to experience a bit more of it for sure.
Yeah, yeah. So
And like this show did a great job. I mean, I like the show better than I like the movies.
is that right?
Yeah.
Well, we've said it definitely before that it certainly enhanced the prequels. Would you say?
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah,
Great deal.
it
Great
brought
deal.
so much into it, so many cool things. So let's talk about season 1 briefly. Some of the episodes. We started off with Yoda in ambush with some of the troops and whatnot, and that was pretty cool. He ended up fighting Ventress, a villain that we saw previously, right?
Yeah, and it was cool too because he laid down right in that first episode that all the clones, even though they're clones and they're all came from a singular source, they each were individuals and they were each unique in their own way.
Very cool. Yeah, very cool. So let's get to some customs real quick, don't you think?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, cool. So one of the greatest things that we were able to do is build our custom empire, if you will, folks. How many would you say that you have or you had for season 1? I know it's going to stretch along over the course of the whole
Yeah, I
whole
think for season
series.
one, I probably only had like maybe 10 at most. I
Yeah,
don't think I had a whole lot for season one.
I ended up having 58 characters that
What?
yeah,
No
58
way.
characters that I showed. I can show a couple of them here if you'd like. Let me go into my where you can find me is on Facebook most of the time, and this is just my whole album. I call them my one shots, and these are just a series of some of the characters that I do. Both Brian and I show our customs after we complete them. It's not really a show of tutorials, but we will certainly give tips and tricks and show you different types of things. So this is just kind of an idea of some of the characters that we saw in in season one. Are you seeing these there?
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, this was a Ventress character that I did. What do you think of that? Added a lot of articulation to her.
Yeah, the ball jointed hips are a nice addition.
Yeah, that was actually a GI Joe torso that I used. So, sometimes we mix and match. I don't stick strictly to Star Wars, but I try to make them as close to Star Wars as possible. So just a couple characters. This is one I did recently. Check this guy out, Gobi. What do you think? Pretty cool.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Pretty awesome show. I thought it was great. Do you have a favorite episode?
Trespass is one of my favorites. Just
Oh yeah, that's great.
It showed like the downfalls of ethnocentrism. Close second though would have been Blue Shadow Virus because I love.
Oh yeah, because of Vindy, right?
Oh yeah, he's probably my favorite character of season one.
Yeah, where is Vindy? I could probably race through them and everything, but yeah, I definitely have a character of Indy made for sure. But for me, it was probably going to be Mystery of 1,000 Moons because I just really enjoy the idea, and we're going to talk about that through all the different series of episodes that we talk about, where they just crunch so much in one episode. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And I think that's what I liked about Mystery of 1,000 Moons. There was so many things going on in that episode. It was right after the Blue Shadow Virus, of course, and then they had the Easter egg with the angels, from the Phantom Menace. That was pretty cool. I really enjoyed that.
That was a nice little nod. I like that.
Yeah,
I definitely appreciate that.
And we definitely saw, the progression of Anakin's Padawan. Could you believe that he even had a Padawan? That's shocking, don't you think?
Yeah, she had a rough season when you think about it. She lost a bunch of soldiers under her command. She ended up I almost started talking about season 2 because I started going up. Cut it there. Okay.
This is a spoiler, absolutely spoiler-centric show. We're not really doing spoilers. This show was on, like I said, from 2000.
This show's been off the air for years, so it's like, if you're watching us, you're not even going to appreciate us unless you start watching the show.
Yeah, this is just a additional perspective, possibly. Go ahead and watch the show, and then come back to us, and you can look at all the different things that we've done, with our customs, and share our perspective with us. We definitely want to get on, fans of the show and have guests and such. Maybe we'll do that in season 2, right?
Yeah, like start bringing like some people on.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, for sure. We did get some feedback from people, and we appreciate that. Thanks for watching the show. We just really, we're just a couple artists just getting together. We're just enjoying the show. It's really great to do something like this, with our customs. I definitely, I'm holding to what I said. I want to do them all. There's so much.
I don't know if I want to do them all, but there's a lot I want to do.
Yeah, there's so much to do. I think as a customizer, if you don't know what a customizer is, it's basically somebody who manipulates a character or takes an action figure and makes a character that didn't exist previously.
Yeah, it's like a one of a kind handmade action figure.
Yeah. Usually one of a kind, yeah. Even though I've made several of the same character over
Yeah,
and
but when
over
you
again.
think about it, like every one of those characters is like every version is made differently than the other. They're all unique in their own way.
That's true. They're all from scratch, you know, and
Yeah. I mean, we
yeah,
do sometimes we'll do cheats, we'll do head casts, or we'll buy a head cast from a friend, or like do a trade or something like that to get the parts that we need to do the project that we want to. But I mean, generally these are all like one of a kind, made from scratch pieces.
yeah, and it's a big community. You know, we're all just a family of Star Wars fans, and we just really enjoy doing customs and having a custom show to go along with it. Here's a picture that I would like to share of Zero the Hutt. And you were saying that this, not mine per se, but yours was one of your favorite customs. Do you have a picture of your Zero that you can show?
Uh, I do. I just have to. Oh wait.
Yeah, that's cool.
Conveniently, yeah,
Conveniently.
I didn't know it was going to be
Awesome.
that close. I'm like, oh man, I'm going to have to go through the action figure index, but I don't.
Yeah.
Hold on, I just gotta hit the share button.
Yeah, Darth Daddy and his son Elias, they are part of the Customs for the Kid blog, and they've been running this thing for 6 years now, right?
Yeah, we hit our 6 year anniversary this year.
That's totally
I can't
cool.
believe I've been doing it that long. I like it really flew.
Yeah, you get caught up in it, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's a regimen. I mean, I've been at least trying to do a post at least every week. And sometimes, I used to do sometimes like more than one post in a week for, been doing that for 6 years. I mean, I think there was like once I could count on one hand where it might have been like over 7 days before I posted something, but it used to be at least like every 3 days or, um, yeah, just staying on top of it. And to me that like my favorite custom is my blog. I mean, that's probably my biggest labor of love. It's constantly in motion. It's constantly being updated and modified and added to, and
Right,
um,
right.
so that's always going to be my favorite custom. But yeah, from season one, out of all the customs that I made, I probably like my Zero the best. And is it showing up on screen or no?
It sure is.
Oh, cool. All right. Yeah. So it's just a sculpted figure. I sculpted onto the Clone Wars Jabba, and this one is mostly Aves. I don't think I used any other sculpting medium. It's all done with Aves Fix It. I think that actually might even be epoxy sculpt because it's before I even started using the Fix It. Because when I first started, I started with epoxy sculpt.
Very
But
nice.
thanks. Yeah, you were the one. Like when I saw you do yours, I was like, man, I want to make one. Yeah, so that's what kind of get kind of had me take the jump, the leap, and try to make one for Elias's collection.
Yeah, I was just totally on board with Clone Wars, mostly because they were characters that never existed, you know. Uh,
Yeah,
and we saw a lot of stuff come our way. I was amazed by what Hasbro did. I wasn't really into the skinnier animated looking characters at first. I think we've discussed this several times. I was a pretty hardcore collector. I was collecting Min on card for a while, and then I started opening my stuff up. And when the Clone Wars came out, I was like, man, I don't know if I want to collect animated figures. It would seem that it was like an additional collection to
it
Star
really
Wars.
is when you think about it. I mean, I was feeling the same way because at the time, like Elias had a decent amount of collecting under his belt before Clone Wars came out. Even for like someone who's had only been collecting for a year, he accumulated a lot in that year. And for me, I saw it as a whole other collection. And I was like, man, I've spent so much money already on this one collection. I can't really afford to do another collection. But, then you fall in love with the show and you're like, well, I can cut a few meals out here.
And they were so nice too, weren't they? They were
Yeah.
amazing. The articulation was there, the movement. It's a far cry from today, right?
Yeah, today it's a sad state of affairs, and
Yeah.
it's really unfortunate. Um, I I almost feel like we're getting forced out of collecting intentionally or something. Like they just don't want to cater to like the demands for variety, and you know I've heard it stated several occasions now, like you hear them like a mantra: main characters, main characters, main characters. And uh that's not the property that was purchased. It's like there's things, it's a culture, and you bought like, Star Wars is a culture, and there's certain things that go along with that culture, and there's certain things that you have to cater to within that culture. And one I would feel would be that 3 3/4 inch community, and that need for variety. And you could try to switch things up going forward, but you may not have the property that you had when you purchased it, if you take that attitude, because if you kill off part of the culture, you might lose the magic that you had.
Yeah, I agree. I feel like why not add to what you already have? This giant collection of action figures that already exist. The state of toys these days, where they want you to move to a different scale. Essentially, they're pushing pretty hard to try to get you to move to a different scale. And like you said, main characters. It seems like more rehash. You know what I'm saying? Instead
Yeah, it's
of
like they're asking me to buy the same figure again, just bigger.
yeah.
It's like I have that figure. I'm okay with it. I like it. I like it a lot. I like it so much I even buy other things to put down next to it.
Yeah, and even like 6 inch, you won't really hear us talk about 6 inch on the show, folks. We're basically doing the Clone Wars how it was when it existed at the time. So that was primarily 3 3/4 inch, and we're going to kind of stick to that. There's definitely been some great customizers out there who have done 6 inch stuff, but
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I've
yeah.
seen very cool things, but that's not like to me. I like as a Clone Wars customizer, I try to make Clone Wars customs that fit within that 3 3/4 action figure line. Like on this shelf right here, I have customs, but I also have Hasbro figures, like right along with it. You know,
Yeah.
they're kind of mixed in. Like I have the Jawa sitting right here and here, and yeah, I have a couple, customs along the way. But
I
I mean,
definitely think
there's so much
they
Hasbro
go
there.
together. They definitely go together. As far as the 3 3/4 inch animated and the movie stuff, don't you think?
You mean like the films?
Well, yeah, they can connect. They can connect because they're 3 3/4 inch, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, yes and no. Like when we used to like, I remember when Elias was younger, and we actually used to like try and play with the figures and stuff. Um, I think we used to play Clone Wars with Clone Wars, realistic with realistic. Even though Clone Wars like Hasbro did a really beautiful job of making these like hybrid figures for a while there, like the Cad Bane that came with the Toto 360 that we were talking about earlier today when we were on the phone,
Yeah,
prepping for the show. Um, they did do a nice job of making figures that could, like, be a bridge between the two styles.
yeah, bridge that
Um,
gap.
but I mean, there's also some Clone Wars figures that look very Clone Wars, like a Kato Parasiti. She
Hmm.
doesn't look like she fits in the realistic line. Maybe when her helmet's down, the visor, but once you flip that visor up, she has very animated eyes.
Yeah, yeah. I definitely liked how everything in the show was completely animated, so there was no um, break in the animation and whatnot. Like with Han Solo and Jabba the Hutt in the original Star Wars in the special edition, where they had to make it look like an animated character was sitting next to an actual person. You know, everything was animated in this show, so
It all fit nicely together.
It all fit nicely together, you know. So my favorite, just getting back to kind of the customizing aspect of it, my favorite character that I did, and we talked about this guy, and he actually comes from the episode that I really liked, and that is Jabo Hood. I wanted to show this dude.
He's one of my. He's probably my second favorite character of season 1.
And what they did in the Clone Wars, they kind of, you know, borrowed a lot of stuff. You're seeing a lot of borrowing from, would you call it the EU, or just the lore of Star Wars, right?
Yeah, like I really felt like Dave borrowed a little bit from the comics. He grabbed pieces wherever he could here and there.
Definitely from Ralph McQuarrie. That's a big influence in Rebels right now, and love all that stuff, all the different types of things. Uh-oh, you're going to cause an avalanche up there. But yeah, this character, I just wanted to share really quick. When it comes to customizing, you can see that this was made from an existing character called Boba Fett, or a Boba Fett. And what I did was I just, for some of the details, like on the boots and whatnot, I basically just dremeled it down. And guess what happened tonight? My Dremel broke after 20 years. My Dremel is 20 years
Wow,
old.
you had that for 20 years?
Yeah. Can you believe that?
You've been customizing for 20 years?
I guess so. I guess so, man.
Holy cow.
Because
you know what I noticed? Like, I was talking to somebody today, we never mentioned, like, in any of our episodes, that both of our customs were featured at a Star Wars Celebration panel.
That's true. That's true. I just met a really great bunch of people in a Facebook group, and they had never heard of me. I know, you know, I know it's a big world, you know, and I'm just grateful that, you know, I get to meet new people, and it's a surprise when you meet new people and they're like, oh, what do you do? What kind of stuff do you do? And I'm like, well, hey, you know, I can explain myself once again, you know, it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
I like that feeling, you know, meeting other people from the community, and it's fresh, and it's really awesome.
Oh yeah, because there's so many different aspects of fandom, you know. You have the cosplayers, you have the prop makers, you know, the action figure collectors. You know, there's just so many aspects of fandom.
Oh gosh, I would love to get into the cosplay aspect. I bought that really great Weequay mask from Wall White's workshop, and that was so cool. Remember that?
That was cool from the pirate episodes.
yeah, those were some fun episodes. We certainly love the Weekways, don't we?
Oh yeah. Those are my favorite kind of customs to make, like for just personal satisfaction. You know, I like to dive into the pirates every chance I get.
Yeah, but yeah, folks, I guess we were at one of the celebrations, Star Wars Celebration Anaheim. Have you been to any of the celebrations?
I have not.
Or were you just appeared at that one, right?
My Jamie Folis, who also goes by Siloff.
Yeah, he's great. He's great.
Customizing community. The last two celebrations, he ended up hosting a Star Wars custom action figure panel. And I think the first year he showed his work, Luke Skywalker's work, and Dayton Allen, Sith Fire 30.
Right.
And the second time they did the panel, they've only had two panels on this topic. And yeah, the second one that they just did at Celebration Anaheim, where they were promoting Force Awakens, he ended up showcasing. It was you, me, Elias, Chewie, He showed Dayton again. He showed his work again. And wasn't there one? Who was the fourth person?
I'm not sure. I'm not
There
sure.
was somebody else too, right? Or was it
Yeah.
just?
Yeah.
Hold on. I could look it up. I have it right here.
You can look it up. You can look it up.
That's the beauty of the blog.
It was a nice treat to share your work with such a big audience, and it was a huge crowd there too. It was
Oh,
just
that was it. It was just the ones we named. I didn't miss anybody.
yeah, it was a really great feeling. I got to feature what I affectionately call the box project, and what I did was 12 different figures from an episode that we will get to in season 4. In season 4, the box. It's a play on the movie The Cube, right? You ever see that movie?
Are you? What are you seeing on your screen right now?
I see your face.
Oh, okay, all right. Because I'm seeing something that I don't know how it got here, but there's something here, and as long as you're seeing me, I just want to make sure that that's what the audience is seeing.
Yep, we're seeing you.
All right,
Yeah,
good.
yeah,
All right.
but yeah, this is pretty much how we're going to do it tonight, folks. We're just going to kind of jump around and just kind of talk about some of the things that we've done in the past, and we've rekindled different types of things, and just celebrating the Clone Wars. And we're going to be going into season 2. Are we going to do it next week, or are we taking a week off?
I would almost say maybe we'll take a week off
Yeah.
because I've been wanting to do the Jocasta New, and I know that's coming up soon, the
Mm-hmm.
episode that would have her, and I think I secured a Jocasta New today.
Oh, good.
Yeah, somebody asked, like, do you have these figures? If you have these figures, I'll trade you my Jocasta New. And one of them was that vintage Imperial Guard, which I didn't have.
Oh, wow.
But he was also looking for a Hoth Rebel Trooper, the
Sure.
vintage one.
Mm-hmm.
And I actually had one of those. I had an extra.
There you
So
go.
I'm trading a Hoth Rebel Trooper for Jocasta New, so that way I could, most likely do a Jocasta New for you guys
Yeah. And
for season 2.
like Brian had said earlier in the episode, we just get inspired again and again for this stuff. Just different episodes. Definitely keep us going, don't we? Is there anything that you talked about in a previous episode that maybe you still haven't finished yet that you'd like to get back to?
From previous, I just started doing a Narglatch, which I hadn't started prior to us doing the episode.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, I have it right next to me.
Yeah, show it to us.
All right, so
Wow.
this is what I've got so far.
Looks like a battle cat.
It was a battle cat. I took a He-Man battle cat. He had 4 toes on each foot, and the Narglatch only has 3. So first I had to sculpt away the toes, so that way I had 3 on each foot. I ended up cutting the end of the tail. I'm trying to see what's here. Okay, the tail, and I ended up chopping it. I drilled a hole down into it, and then I took the piece that came with
The actual weapon, right?
with Dyson, and I ended up making that piece on the tail, and I made it articulate as well, so it gives a little bit more mobility to it. And if you notice, Dyson on his back, he has that flap that goes behind the Narglatch's head.
Yeah.
And then I took a Chinese food lid container and I just started cutting strips out, and then I started even doing some of the veining in there as well. But I'm basically gonna take Procreate and like weigh all that down, and I'm still building. I have a lot more to build as far as the feathers go, and but I wanted to make sure they had that arrow shape that they're supposed to have. And then I started sculpting in some of the framing that I'm gonna start sculpting onto, but at least like building out like a skeleton for now. And he has a button on his back that makes the mouth go up and down.
Oh,
when I sculpted, I threw some cellophane in there so I didn't have to worry about this flap getting stuck to the jaw. to
Sure.
keep that articulation there. And I'm about to start sculpting a saddle on there. And I actually put cellophane on there too. That way, to keep that articulation as a button, I'm going to make it so I'll sculpt the saddle so it looks the way it's supposed to. But since it won't actually attach here, I'll make it so once it's done, I can still remove it and then later on attach it to that button. So when I push down on the saddle, it'll still articulate.
Very cool.
But yeah, there's a lot of work left to do on that one. I got a long way to go.
Yeah, that if you haven't seen that, that's in the Trespass episode. That's a Narglatch. It's one of their beasts that they ride, and I have several figures myself that I didn't quite get to that I'm still working on. This one, for example, this is a rebel or a clone crew tech or a flight tech.
Wow, you're pretty much done on him. What do you have left?
Just a little bit more paint job.
Like the stuff that you do to make it pop?
Yeah. I try to embellish on my
from an outsider's perspective, I just want to say Chad has some of the coolest paint jobs that I've seen out of like pretty much any customizer's work. It reminds me of like a Van Gogh painting, like Starry Night, where you have those really great contrasts and you have really wonderful just like color patterns, and like it just, your stuff really jumps out. Like where, most people go for a realistic or they'll have the washes. Yours are vibrant, just vibrant. Like you're the only person I think who even attempts to go for vibrancy over realism. But it's just really cool.
I appreciate that.
Yeah.
I especially with the Clone Wars, I try to embellish them a lot, simply because that show's so colorful.
It is,
and that's an opportunity to make everything really pop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, they were. That was one of the cool things about the Clone Wars. It almost had a almost like pastels or like watercolor, or I don't know, just the way that the painting of the assets were was executed was just very cool.
Yeah, I agree. I thought they were really sharp, really striking, and I try to make them as eye popping as possible. Here's another guy I was working on that I haven't quite got through yet, and his name is Martook. I just took all of his gown off and everything. He's basically a Pneumoidian. I don't know if you can see him there, but if he's focusing or not. What you're seeing there, folks, is it's kind of a Cad Bane body. If this helps kind of our process, some of the process of what we do. I was thinking about it today, and what is it that we do when it comes to customizing? And one of the first things I start with is, what are the mechanics of the character? Just whoops, and I drop them all the time. Just like I dropped my Dremel today, my 20-year-old Dremel. I got to get a new Dremel. I can't believe it. I'm so sad. Yeah. Well, with these characters, this was an old Cad Bane body, you can see. And then if you look at that there, you see how it has, I don't know if it's focusing or not. I apologize for the
procreate around the neck.
Yes. What that is it's like epoxy, or not an epoxy, but a clay, a two-part clay, and you put it together, and you can mold and sculpt different shapes and different types of things. So I decide to put some of the details on there, and so I use that for the neck, So, and then as far as the head went, that was actually a Newt Gunray head.
Oh, cool.
But I literally grinded it down and put Procreate over it. That whole hat is Procreate. You can use green stuff. You can use Fix It. There's all kinds of cool things that you can do. I don't know if I came up with it or anything, but I've been trying to do this thing called plating. I call it plating. You know, it's like with this other guy, that vest that you're seeing there, that's all Procreate. You know, the vest is made up of just clay. It's flat. I basically flatten it out like a pancake, you know, and then let it sit there and let it dry forever. And then I'll cut it and literally tailor it around his shoulder. And
I've done that before. That actually works really well. That
I'll
technique.
make the vest. So like, you know, with the boxes that are on his vest or whatever,
Yeah.
I do something that you mentioned 2 episodes ago. You were talking about how you just literally make a box and then you cut it, right? You cut a little piece of box.
Oh yeah, just cut the sections off. That way everything stays uniform and you get the nice straight lines.
Yeah, right. Instead of maybe
trying to sculpt it and hope you get the straight lines.
yeah, trying to sculpt it, you can just make a box. And what I did with this guy, you know, I'll hold him up one more time. I'll try to get pictures when I get him a little bit closer. I literally just put a flat piece over top as the pocket flap. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And it really works. And I call that plating, basically. You know, where you're stacking the clay and whatnot on the character. So there's 2 characters I definitely want to finish up and get to. Another one is that A4D. I'd really like to get to him at some point.
Is that the Grievous's droid? That one?
Yeah, I'm gonna try to get to him at some point also.
Yeah.
I would just really, I would love to make that character at some point. I'll do a screen cap of him real fast. If you don't know who A4D is, he's just totally cool. Let's see here. All right, let me share him. So this is A4D, and he's just totally cool. He put Grievous back together in one episode, basically. They cut his legs off, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So such a cool character. And all these images, we just go on Google Images, right? And get resources. And that's basically how we make and go about making our customs, you know, look at different resources and pictures and whatnot. So
yeah, you know, it's funny. You know what I realized from doing this?
Yeah.
As I'm like going through trying to like I was trying to find assets for like making the season 1 characters. And what I realized was they weren't using those character assets yet. It wasn't until the later seasons that they started employing those. And like I'm like looking at it. Yeah, I'm like, where are these assets? I'm like, they didn't exist. They weren't made then.
Yeah,
the
for
first
sure.
time I did a version of plating. You remember that Weequay Craggy Tooth Pirate A? He was like that really big pirate, the one that had like that clone trooper armor on the front and it had like Hondo's symbol painted into.
Yeah,
that was the first time I did some form of plating like that. He has like that red fabric that hangs down around his waist.
Yeah.
I ended up doing that where I ended up, you know, letting the green stuff dry really flat, kind of like the way I showed in our trespass episode when I showed the parchment that Medchawanto holds, where I had it laid flat on the saran wrap and then I let it dry and then I started painting the parchment. I cut it into shape, but I did like, I guess what you were saying, that plating technique where you like dry it flat, you make the fabric, and then you cut out the fabric the way you know, the shapes you wanted it and then glue it to the figure.
For sure. Yeah, I think it's great. I recently talked to a friend of ours, a customizer, and I was explaining to him about how to make belts out of it. And I do that very same thing where I flatten it out and I literally make a belt instead of sculpting a belt. You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
That way it physically looks like it's essentially a strap going around his waist. And
Yeah, it looks
then,
more authentic that way.
yeah, and then what I do is I stack, I'll stack up a buckle, a belt buckle
Yeah.
on top of it, and I'll stack the boxes. Or if it has, a loop or something like that, I will continue to stack that on top of it, and do the series of stacking, especially with green stuff too. This green stuff is
It's
a
very
little
good.
bit more, yeah, it's a little bit more rubbery, I would say. Rubbery green stuff
You
is.
think it's
So
more
you
rubbery than the Procreate?
definitely, definitely,
Really?
yeah, yeah. I've done tons of crazy things with green stuff, as far as like long, hangly dangly things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah.
And
I mean,
uh,
I made Mechawanto's entire outfit out of green stuff, and I made it so that was the same thing where I used the same, cellophane, that the Saran wrap that I'm doing here. I did the same thing with Mechawanto. I put it like almost like a barber smock when you go to get your hair cut, and I just wrapped it around the figure, and then I started sculpting onto them. And the great thing is, once it dried, I was able to you know, I even put like the way his belt goes around his waist. I
mhm.
had it overlap, almost like the way my fingers are overlapped now. But I put Saran wrap in between, like this area right here,
Yeah,
and that way when it overlaps nice and tight. But I could still lift it away and then pull it off the figure because I put that Saran wrap there, and it kept the green stuff from attaching to the body. And now I could slide those clothes on and off, and I didn't damage the original Taos figure that's there,
yeah.
which
They're
is
still removable. Mine were still removable, also.
yeah. You did yours in more like a mechanical way though, right? Where it was like you had a fastener, or like you had the way the plastic almost snapped into each other somehow.
Yeah. Well, no, I flattened it out and everything, but I made something that attaches to the back to
Okay.
allow it to move. So I even like with this Martuk guy, I just put his little outfit back on.
Yeah.
So yeah, he looks a little bit more like Martuk now. I mean, so what I decided to do is I actually used cloth for his gown that he wears, because he wears this long gown.
Is that from the what's his name? Not Dauphine. Is it Dauphine?
Actually, it's from the vintage collection, Senate Guard.
Oh, use that one. Okay.
Yeah, I use that. You can utilize pretty much anything, folks,
Yeah.
from the past. And what I did was I put a Hondo coat over top of it,
Oh,
and,
smart.
but the rubber over top of it, it doesn't go to the full length of the gown. So what I'm going to have to do is I'm literally going to have to go over this Hondo coat with green stuff or Procreate and make it longer, physically make it longer.
I
And
had to do something similar with Towson when I did Towson because if you notice on that Towson, the original, like that Night Sister figure that they put out in that 3-pack with Savage and Maul, I
yes,
think it only went like as far down as your knees. So then I took another Towson and I kind of like reached it down to the floor, and then I blended that whole back piece with green stuff to make it all like one.
yeah,
But it can be
and
done.
yeah. There's so many ways you can do it, folks. We don't have all the answers.
Yeah, we kind of
For,
make it up as we go along, to be
yeah, for
for
sure.
sure.
For sure. I borrow things from other people all the time, and I offer my ideas to people all the time, and
Yep.
I just come up with them as I go. Like I said, it all starts with kind of the mechanics. Are you kind of one of those guys where you're going to try to take the whole custom out of one particular body, or are you like me where you Frankenstein the whole thing together?
I usually Frankenstein it. I did stop using GI Joe parts though, for the most part. Like I think I'll probably like Chiral when I make a second Chiral for Elias. I'll probably use the Baroness body, but for the most part, I try to use only Star Wars parts on all my figures. For the
Yeah.
I do have other kinds of fodder, but I've been trying to avoid using it. I've been trying to stick to like I think it's Chewie's fault. He said something to me once about like, he was like he's kind of a purist, and he tries to only use Star Wars parts. And then after he said that, I've been trying to do it ever since. And yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, you get different things from different people, right?
Yeah,
It makes sense. I just from a materials aspect, it's definitely a harder PVC plastic to use, so
yeah,
it varies the way it blends in with your Star Wars characters. So different densities of plastic, folks.
yeah.
So. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Sometimes it's good to be a purist, I just try to find parts where I can, especially nowadays. It's getting harder.
It's slim pickings.
Yeah. We're going to clean out Tungori, a guy overseas that sells great, awesome characters from the past. I'm definitely going to clean that guy out for my fodder bin, right?
I got 3 shipments from that guy this month alone.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome. Nice. Well, that is the recap show. We just love to be here. We love to talk about it. We're just a couple customizers. We just love to kick it around. Stick with us. Please stick with us. We definitely want you to go along for the ride. We have a lot of stuff to go. Like I said, I had just with season 1, I had 58 customs.
Yeah.
It's going to vary depending on what I can get done, but I'm trying to push to do some of the more unique ones myself, and I know you're doing a lot of interesting.
Yeah, I have a Spider Maul going right now.
Yeah,
I
that's cool.
have right now I'm also doing a Darth Sidious from the duel that he had with Savage and Maul. I'm pretty close to that. That one I could probably have done by tomorrow.
Yeah.
I'm really close on that one. But yeah, I'm always, it's funny, like these, if you're judging, like, I know like this first season, like Chad was just saying he did 58. I know most of my work is like most of the things I've done for Clone Wars are more like season 3 and beyond, because for me, like I felt like Hasbro did at least a decent job. Obviously not that great a job because Chad was still able to pull off 58 customs that season. But, they the first 2 seasons they at least made, a very sincere attempt at, you know, putting out a lot of the toys from the TV series. And then, there's that sale that took place with Disney in season 3, and that's kind of when the Clone Wars line just like started like choking and dying. And that's kind of where I jumped in, and I was like, well, I want these characters from these last seasons, and that's where I guess a lot of you're going to see more of my customs towards the end of the show when we start getting into the later seasons. But I still had stuff to show in season 1, and I will have things for season 2.
Yeah.
But the heavier part of my work is more towards the later seasons.
And season 2 is going to be great, isn't it? There's so many cool things coming up. Wow.
Well, we're getting into the bounty hunters, and what's more fun than bounty hunters?
Rise of the Bounty Hunters. Yep, season 2 is Rise of the Bounty Hunters. Definitely talks about Boba Fett, and maybe you don't like the way Boba Fett went. I really loved it, following how they changed Boba Fett to make him a little bit more
dimensional.
Yeah.
Having a story other than
exactly
no disintegrations.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of that kind of thing, instead of just saying he's the man with no name kind of thing. He's just a lawless bounty hunter. I like George, folks. I'm a big George Lucas fan. That's why I like Clone Wars. Not only is it a great place to customize, but I appreciate what he did, because one, it was an animation. I believe Star Wars has to have an animation, going forward. We'll see what happens with Rebels, right? I mean, they blew it out at Celebration Europe.
Yeah, they stole the show. They want,
They did.
the focus was supposed to be on Rogue One, but
Yeah,
by the end of that, by the end of this Celebration Europe, everybody came out of there talking about Rebels
yeah, and
for
it,
good reason.
for good
It's a
reasons.
great
Yeah,
show.
it's a
You
great
know.
show. I just feel that idea, that whole thing where you're seeing episodes of a story unfold. It expands so great and gives you so much information. It's like reading the expanded universe that is now gone and
Yeah.
having just that much more Star Wars. You know what I'm saying?
That's why I'm trying to talk you into reconstructing Rebels after we finish customizing the Clone Wars.
We shall see. We shall see. Yeah, I'm just starting to get into Rebels customizing. I have several started. I know you have probably like 5 or 6, right?
No, I might even be up to like around 10 at this point.
Yeah.
I got pretty deep into Rebels because yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 actually.
Wow.
Yeah, I got a good jump on Rebels.
You like Rebels? Yeah, you got a good jump.
Well, you know what it is? I have, because of the blog, I have to like show content not from just one form of Star Wars content. I have to show stuff from Empire Strikes Back, Phantom Menace, Rebels. Expanded universe. I try to make customs for all types of Star Wars fans.
Mm.
I know I am fully admitting when it comes to like stuff like Knights of the Old Republic or that the really early time period. I am faltering there because I really don't know much about it. I never got really deep into it. I like when it comes to like stuff like Revan and Bane, I don't really know that much. I mean, Elias hasn't gotten into it, so I didn't feel like I needed to get a background in that quite yet. So
Yeah.
I've been trying to stick to the content that has mass consumption and everybody knows about. But I'll pull out stuff like a gory every now and again, or but yeah. So that's how I started doing a lot of Rebel stuff because just to mix it up and make sure I put something out there for everybody.
Very cool. Yeah, I'm definitely into Rebels. Uh, but we definitely have a ways to go on this Clone Wars, don't we?
Oh yeah, it'll be a couple of years, but that's okay
Yeah.
because that gives us years. I'm still gonna have to make stuff for the blog, so
Yeah.
I'm sure while this show is running over the course of however long it takes us to wrap things up, I'm still gonna have to make action figures for all the other like Star Wars content out there, and I'm sure I already have parts to make Wolf and to make Gregor. I already have ideas for how I'm going to make Sibo, but yeah, I could see, there's gonna be a lot of stuff that I'm going to have to tackle over the years, I'm sure.
Yeah. Yeah. I won't show him because he's still, well, he's kind of rough, but I may be holding the eighth brother in my hand.
Oh, that's right.
Fully articulated eighth
That
brother.
is cool.
That's the one with the helmet and the
Yeah.
helicopter lightsaber.
His helmet's very similar to, in some ways, it reminds me of Star Killers. Remember that one
I
helmet?
agree. I agree.
Yeah,
Hmm. Yeah, that's Dave pulling
yeah,
from all the ultimate things, just making unique characters, making cool characters that I think could have ultimately been made from Hasbro, and they, like you said, they've dropped it and just kind of they'll make main characters. I think we are definitely getting some of the most unique characters from Rebels, of course.
Oh
Like you
yeah,
were saying, yeah,
definitely. And what I like about Dave too is he still mines those older aliens. Like we may not be getting the older aliens in Force Awakens, but man, in Rebels they are alive and well and thriving, and you
yeah,
know
I
like,
hope we see kind of those characters, callbacks to those characters.
yeah.
It's just not Star Wars without it, is it?
Not in my eyes. That's one of the areas
Yeah.
where Disney and Lucasfilm could use some improvement in
Yeah.
in the future trilogy. I Rogue One. I've already seen the calamari, so I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt, and we'll see like what kind of aliens we get in Rogue One. It's a different director. He may have his own team, outside of JJ's. So when it comes to special effects and stuff like that, I don't really know if they're using the same people or um, how things are going to be exercised. I guess that's something we get to find out come December. But when it comes to current Star Wars content, Dave Filoni is the go-to guy in my eyes.
Yeah, he's the man. He is kind of George's Padawan, right?
Oh yeah, well now I would say he's a Jedi Knight for sure. And
Yeah.
then once he gets a Padawan, then we can start calling him Master.
Yeah, for sure, man. Well, that is
Wouldn't you
it. Like
love
I
being
said,
that guy's Padawan?
yeah. Oh God, I would. Anytime, Dave, call me
I
up.
know,
I
right?
work for you. I would love to.
You ever
Uh,
wants to be like Willy Wonka and give out golden tickets, man? I'd probably like buy every chocolate bar.
right? Yeah, for sure. Well, awesome, man. Great talk. I know it was different folks this time. We were just kind of touching base, having a recap show. Just wanted to thank you guys again for joining us, for enjoying the season 1 with us. We're going into season 2. Like Brian said, the rise of the bounty hunters. And we have a ton of customs that are just going to blow your mind, hopefully. And we're going to definitely talk about the process and how we do different things, and it's going to be a great season, or season 2 of Clone Wars.
Clone
So,
Wars and customizing Clone Wars.
and customizing the Clone Wars. Yes,
Yeah.
I can't believe it's 15 already. I'm going to be
Yeah.
shocked when we're saying, oh my gosh, I can't believe it's 100.
Oh, imagine. I started thinking about that. I'm like, man, what did I sign up for? We're gonna be in this forever.
Yeah, it's just we just really want to show our customs and
Yeah.
help fans and friends and fellow customizers just
And
get
future
a little.
customizers that aren't even customizers yet. You don't even know you are one, but you're gonna be.
Maybe you will be. Maybe you like what you see, and maybe you want to learn how to do that. We're also on different forums and whatnot. I'll tell you where you can find me. You can find me on Facebook, mostly. It's Peak Obi-Wan Custom Creations right here on Facebook. And you can find me at Clone Wars Custom Action Figures. And then where can we find you, sir?
You could find me on the Customs for the Kid blog, www.customsforthekid.blogspot.com. From there, you could check us out on YouTube, Twitter, Tumblr, Instagram, Facebook, Google Plus. I think we even have something with Pinterest. So yeah, you can find me pretty much everywhere. The best
Hashtag where
content,
can
I
we
would
find you,
say,
right?
yeah, I know, right? Best place to find, like, the best content is really on the blog because that's where the archives are. I'm gonna try and do a tutorial or just like a tour of the blog for people who, if this is your first time here, how do you find your way around the blog? Because I think that's necessary. Like all these pictures on the sidebar that the cursor on, you click any of those and they actually take you to places on the blog. Like the action figure index right here, you click that, that's going to take you to every action figure that Customs for the Kid has ever made. Which you're actually seeing, we're actually on that page right now. But yeah, you click any of these pictures, it's going to take you to YouTube, it's going to take you to Twitter, where you could like follow us or at least see the content that's there. I know on Facebook, I'll share, like I come across a lot of customizers and I'll share all their work on Facebook. It might not make it to the blog, but it'll make it into the Customs for the Kid feed. and
Yeah.
you could find other people's work there, because if there's something noteworthy, I'm gonna share it, or and if you put something out there, don't assume that I saw it and I didn't share it. If you're feeling like this guy never shared my stuff, but yeah, it might be I didn't see it.
And that
But
reminds me too. I just want to thank all of all of the people that we've given a shout out to. In the
for letting us
course,
share their stuff.
yeah, letting us share their stuff. We really appreciate that. There are times where we won't have customs available, and we like to share our friends' work as well that we feel excel. We're not just going to take all the credit, for Clone Wars, even though sometimes I like to. Man, I'll tell you, Wraith 9, I like to give him a shout out. He's over in the UK. That guy does an unbelievable amount of troopers and robots, and I'm sorry, robots, astromechs, astromech droid.
Astromech King.
Yeah, he
Yeah.
really is, and just his troops too, just unbelievable amounts of cool stuff. And we were going to have a guest on tonight, but he couldn't make it. Another friend of ours, Ellie Spry, he's just Luke Sprywalker. He's just such a great customizer. He's been doing it such a long time, and we hope to have him on at some point. And want to shout out to him. I appreciate you watching our show, joining us all the time. It's great that we have our friends along the way with us, right?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Awesome, man.
Very
well, thanks again, and we will see you later.
Have a good night, everybody, and may the force be with you.